Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
I want to welcome to the program for the first time from the Institute for Justice. We have Dr. Dick Carpenter on the line, and he serves as the Director of Strategic Research. Dr. Carpenter, welcome to the program, sir.
Paul, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
I'm really thrilled that you could do this, and I know you are also going to be in Arkansas on the campus of UCA, the College of Business Auditorium, this coming Thursday, November 16th at 1:40, and you're going to be giving a talk on occupational licensing in Arkansas. So I would assume that this is one of your, many studies over at the Institute for Justice. And please go ahead and tell us a little bit about what the Institute for Justice does.
Sure. So the Institute for Justice, or IJ, is a nonprofit public interest law firm that represents individuals whose most basic rights are violated by government. So we are a law firm that specializes in suing the government when the government impinges upon people's rights. We litigate in 4 areas. One is economic liberty, which occupational licensing is part of that, but also free speech, property rights, and educational choice. And one of the very first cases for us was on the issue of economic liberty, where we represented taxi drivers in Denver who wanted to break open what by then was a monopoly, to break that open so they could operate their own taxi businesses in Denver. And we won. We have been continuing to win on behalf of small business owners for the past 26 years.
Wow. And that's some great work. And, you can see, that taxi cab analogy is great because, with the invention, the new businesses like Uber or Lyft and things like that, we have seen that nationwide. People they have these aversions to not going through the proper channels. You also see it with, the hotel industry and the different services out there where people can rent their own places. And so it's really interesting to me when technology kind of outthinks government. People get in there, they start being entrepreneurial, they start, making money, creating jobs, and then everyone's like, whoa, 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 you didn't grease the right palms. And honestly, Dr. Carpenter, that's exactly the way I feel about most occupational licensing, is it's kind of, you're paying a fee. It feels kind of mob-like to me sometimes. And feel free to comment on that, and then talk a little bit about how Arkansas compares to other states with these licensed occupations.
Sure. So most people, I think, are familiar with the idea that their doctor or their attorney has a license. And I think most people generally know that their barber or their cosmetologist has a license. But I don't think many people realize just how many occupations today require a license that once upon a time did not, like auctioneers, sign language interpreters, locksmiths, furniture upholsterers, florists, crane operators, and the list goes on of these occupations that now require a license. An occupational license is a government permission slip to work. It means before you can go and hang your shingle out and work in the occupation of your choice, you have to get permission from the government to do so. And these licenses are created not because consumers go to the legislature and ask to be protected from unlicensed practitioners, these licenses are overwhelmingly created by members of the industry who go to the legislature and ask for the license to be created in their industry. It enables them to erect a fence around their occupation and keep competitors out. And so the costs associated with licensing, costs in the form of higher prices to consumers, fewer job opportunities, restricted interstate mobility and migration, all these costs are borne by us to benefit a much smaller group of people who enjoy an economic benefit as a result.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, just kind of doing that in my head here, I'm thinking, well, if you're making it harder on people to practice and then therefore, they can't work legally, then there's less people with a skill set that's, legally you're able to purchase or use their services. That would seem that would drive the price of those services up.
Yes. You're creating a scarcity, right? So if we think about it in economic terms,
the maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program today. My name is Paul. Thank you so much for being with us. You have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We are building a liberty machine at that intersection, and we want you to be a part of the program. One of the ways you can do that is to text us this week. I'm not going to be able to handle too many phone calls, aside from prearranged guests. So you can text me, 870-275-9799, or you can sound off on Facebook Live or YouTube. I'm looking at our Facebook Live audience right now, and so, Levita writes that she loves the flag. Well, so we've got a new get-up here for those of you that are not able to watch the program. We're on, this is actually Joe's area. This is where Joe would be hanging out. You've seen it sometimes when he takes the Conduit for Action quiz. Joe is on, he's with family. It's Thanksgiving, and he has to, his Thanksgiving is always in Chicago. And so, he drives up there, and so he normally takes the entire week off. But see, I'm here through Wednesday. So I'll be here Monday. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here Wednesday. And then, of course, be celebrating Thanksgiving with my family Thursday and Friday, as a matter of fact. So really looking forward to this week, though, because we got a lot of news to get to. Quite frankly, I was shocked when, the folks at Conduit Media, they do an amazing job of researching things.
And I have been following, what I thought was just kind of an obscure story about sealed indictments. And then all of a sudden, I saw someone report that there were some sealed indictments that were filed in Arkansas. And so I was like, how do I verify this? And so the only way that I knew how to verify this was to, because, on the internet, people, you hear things all the time on the internet. So how do I verify this? Well, there's a website called Pacer, okay? And Pacer's a way for you to search, legal documents, court filings, and things like that. And lo and behold, and I feel like this is news, and I tweeted this out earlier, and I used the Arkansas legislature hashtag, I used the Arkansas politics hashtag, and the AR News hashtag, and I haven't heard anything else. And the reason I don't think I've heard much else is because I bet there are reporters, trying to verify what I know. And I can go ahead and show you this. Hang on one second. I got to figure out if I can even work this software. I got to tell you something. All right, yeah, so I can show you this right here. And this was what I tweeted earlier. 18 sealed indictments filed in the Western District of Arkansas. And it's just as simple as looking up information. It's available to the public. It's not extremely complicated here, but, I mean, you can see it right there. This is the, let's see, can we click on the photo? Yeah, here's the photo, and it's just a screenshot of it's a criminal cases, U.S. District Court, the Western District of Arkansas. This was a search period from October of 30th through today, November the 20th, and you just see it doesn't list any names. It just is 18 sealed indictments. I'm not an attorney. I honestly don't know if sealed indictments are common. Okay, I've done a limited research just on the internet, and I'm not really sure that they are common compared to the normal just indictment, which is an allegation of wrongdoing. But here it is. So I don't know, and you can see that we got the Pacer there, and the reason I wanted to put this in the screenshot is because I wanted other people to be able to recreate the results and go themselves and see what they find. It's not just these 18, because there are also 7 more sealed indictments that have been filed. Hang on, let me back out of here. 7 more sealed indictments have been filed. Yeah, here we go. In the Eastern District. Now, interestingly enough, this one, that I was following this story last week, and I knew there were 7 last week, but I didn't really say anything because I was just waiting and seeing. And I will just tell you, the screenshot that I have, according to Pacer, doesn't have dates. The only thing you have for the 18 in Western District are the dates, are no dates, but in the Eastern District you do have dates. I will just tell you that the 18 sealed indictments in the Western District were not there. They were not there last week. They have been added in the last 7 days. That's all that I know. And so here's what we do know. We know that it's possible that these sealed indictments have absolutely nothing to do with anything that I have been covering when I talked about this 2 months ago, and I had sources saying that there were indictments coming. Now, that's still a fact. I have sources that say that there are indictments coming. Everybody knows it. In terms of everybody's heard the rumor. I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. It may not ever happen. I mean, good grief. You've got, remember Whitewater? Okay, so, you had the Whitewater stuff with the Clintons. There have been people trying to get their hands on that indictment, and it's been sealed forever. They can't get a hold of it. They can't get access to it. You know what I'm saying? So these indictments may never, ever, in fact, they may never, ever be opened at all. But I also know this. I know that the corruption trial of former Senator John Wood starts on December the 4th. The corruption trial starts on December the 4th. Now, many people, if you talk to them, back earlier this year when Senator John Woods said that he was going to plead guilty, so he pled guilty, many people they kind of blew a sigh of relief, according to some, because that meant he wasn't going to make a plea. So State Representative Micah Neal, okay, he makes a plea and says, yeah, I took $38,000 in General Improvement Fund money. I did it through this scheme, and that's what happened, okay? John Woods didn't take a plea because he pled not guilty, meaning he's going to fight the charges. And the reason people would potentially, if true, breathe a sigh of relief is because it means he's not going to, I don't know, give anybody else up that might be implicated in some of this stuff. What is also clear, and you can't talk about any of this stuff without admitting that the elephant in the room is that Senator Jake Files of Fort Smith is still in office, and he has been mentioned in a sworn FBI affidavit to get a search warrant for his electronic devices, where the FBI affidavit said he had evidence of wire fraud. I mean, go read the affidavit. It's amazing that the Republican Party of Arkansas, this is a separate issue, but the Republican Party of Arkansas, Governor Asa Hutchinson has not called for him to step down publicly and say, hey, we've got, this is, the reputation of the party's at stake. That hasn't happened. But digressing, the reason Jake Files, I believe, here is important is because we know that the FBI has done work, okay? And that affidavit, it says that they were in here investigating. We know they were doing more investigating past Mike and Neal, past John Woods, Ecclesia, consulting groups, and everything else. And so they were digging more. And we know a lot of their work was done. That affidavit was there to continue their work in the case because they wanted his computer and cell phone. I don't know where any of this is going to lead. Only thing I know is I felt that I needed to make the state aware that this has happened. Nobody seems to want to talk about it. The mainstream media is skittish. The mainstream media should be asking every politician if they're a consultant. They should get everybody on record. Are you a consultant? Did you get elected and become a consultant? Do you ever get money from Medicaid entities? They should have been asking all of these questions. But here, I've Conduit Media done some of the work for you, and you can go get the same results if you want. You could start asking questions. I mean, I don't think the media can. I mean, they're sealed indictments, so we have no conclusive evidence here of anything other than this is public record, and these indictments are sealed, and that's all we know. And we also know that they've been filed somewhere. The 18 in Western District, the 7 in the Eastern District, they have been filed sometime between October 30th and today. Those are the facts. Make of them what you will. We also know that the corruption trial of John Wood starts December the 4th. So, you guys tell me, feel free, sound off in the Facebook comments, okay? Let us know what you think about that. Also, send me a text. The number is 870-275-9799. The interesting thing, so last week, and we can have more about this, talk more about this later, more about these indictments. And feel free to let me know if you guys hear anything. I'll let you know what Twitter says about this news and this development. I will say this: the already some of what I have heard just in private conversations is that, this doesn't do anything because, these indictments could be drug-related. It could be anything. And that's exactly true. That's exactly right. It doesn't mean anything. And I think some of that knee-jerk reaction is because people have given up. I think many Arkansans have given up at the idea that there will be some form of justice, that the FBI doing all the investigating that they did, people paranoid that you had legislators wearing wires. I mean, you had some people that were paranoid that people were wearing a wire, working and cooperating with the FBI here. That is a very, that rumor's been going on for a while, but it's been so long, and there has been no conclusion. And yet it's the story. I was quoted today. Somebody quoted me, or told me it's a story that never goes away. But where is the prosecution? The FBI can do all the work that they want, but where is the prosecution? And that's why this story is important, because this may be, okay, this may be the beginning of that prosecution. Again, it also may not be. I just wanted you to know, specifically, last Wednesday in our Wednesday weekly video, we gave you an update. Actually, it wasn't even an update on the FBI and in the event. It was just a review. And I had no idea that this, some of this stuff was going to come out the way it has. So anyway. All right. So there's some new developments in the fallout from the Mississippi County Republican Lincoln Reagan Day dinner. We told you that the journalist Tom Henry wrote a piece last week detailing the feud within the GOP that has broken out. It had to do with Jan Morgan, had to do with her being disinvited and everything else, and we covered that. In the process of this, the journalist, Tom Henry, he heard all this, and he wrote a story in the Mississippi County newspaper and just talked about it, right? And in the process of doing that, and maybe wanting to verify some of the things that were said, Tom Henry decided to FOIA the governor's office. Well, so he sends his Freedom of Information Act request in, and they deny it. They don't allow it. And so he's written a really interesting piece on a blog, tomhenry.org. That's tomhenry.org. It was published yesterday. The headline here is "Never Question the Governor." And he makes some really strong points. I want to go over that this hour. And I also want to tell you about the Washington County Quorum Court and the meeting there. Matter of fact, I can do that right here. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to, because I'm so scattered right now because I have different computers that are normally in different rooms and that sort of thing. But I can tell you, here we go, perfect. So the Washington County Quorum Court members, Washington County Quorum Court, this is a follow-up from a story that we did on Friday where we told you that there was a bid to increase the taxes, property taxes on the citizens of Washington County, and it failed, and the budget failed, and they've got a $5 million hole, and I'm told that there's still the will to pursue more revenue instead of getting spending under control, and there's still the will to just raise taxes to get out of it all. But I have an email here. The Washington County Quorum Court met last Thursday as advertised, and they decided that personal property taxes will not be increased next year. However, the court failed to agree on the upcoming budget and has gone back to the drawing board to search for more answers and to find a workable plan. This email is to inform you of two important Quorum Court meetings in Washington County on the schedule for 5:30 tomorrow. That's Monday, November 20th. So that's tonight, when the subcommittee responsible to prepare and present the budget will be in session. Judge Joseph Wood has called a special full Quorum Court meeting to begin immediately afterwards to approve the budget that comes out of that meeting. So the meeting tonight, they're going to be moving pretty fast here. Both of these meetings are open to the public. The Quorum Court meetings are held in the Quorum Court chamber at the Washington County Courthouse in Fayetteville, and you're encouraged to attend. Now listen, citizens of Washington County. I covered that story on Friday, because it was fascinating. We interviewed somebody who was in the meeting, and it was a circus. They were trying to raise your taxes, and they failed. Now, oftentimes when people who are big government thinkers, they get shot down, they come back and try it again. We see it with Asa Hutchinson and the internet sales tax. We saw it with Dan Douglas trying to raise your gas taxes. These guys get defeated, and they come back for more. They don't give up and respect the wishes of the people. They will try legislative sleight of hand. They will try procedural maneuvers. They'll try anything they can, because they can't. They're not able to think outside the box and say we should cut spending. They don't want to do the hard things. They would rather bulldoze you, the taxpayer, than they would do the hard thing and maybe be a little unpopular at their jobs. Okay, meaning among the people who just want more and more money from the people to support government. So my encouragement to you guys, Washington County, is number one, you must get engaged. If you don't want your taxes going up, you don't need to rely on me. Okay, you don't need to rely on me to tell you what to do. You guys have a great opportunity to get engaged. In order to do that, you got to show up to these meetings. okay? If you're a Republican, an independent, a libertarian, you need to go and see what your elected officials are doing in person. You don't have to rely on the news to tell you. You can rely on me. You can rely on me because I tell you like it is. But you can't rely on some of these other people, in my opinion. You need to decide what to do based on your firsthand account because government must be attended to. It's our responsibility. And I hope that's encouraging to the citizens of Washington County. We're going to take a break. You're listening to the Paul Harrell program brought to you by Conduit Media Group. And it's a great Monday, the Monday before Thanksgiving. I hope everybody's getting geared up and has a great time with family. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment.
Buy, sell, and trade at Triple R Pawn in Ash Flat. Firearms, computers, sporting goods, musical instruments, tools, jewelry, and everything else you can think of. It's all at Triple R Pawn at the Light in Ash Flat. Gun enthusiasts, log on now to TripleRPawn.com and browse their amazing inventory. That's TripleRPawn.com. You can also call them at 870-994-PAWN. That's 870-994-7296. Let the great team at Triple R Pawn help you find what you're looking for. That's Triple R Pawn at the Light in Ash Flat, TripleRPawn.com, or call 870-994-PAWN.
If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
In Arkansas, every single hour there is a politician not getting what they want. For some, it's an absolute nightmare. The sleepless nights wondering if progress will ever come. Lying awake pondering how to grow government in this political climate. Asking questions like, why don't my constituents want to pay a few cents more in taxes? Everyday politicians feel abused and neglected. These politicians are starving for power. They're hungry, confused, and they don't understand why no one seems to care. Will you be a patriot and commit today to help these poor, starved for power public officials? It's simple. All you have to do is commit to stay silent and never dissent or stand in the way of your politicians' rise to power. Never speak up or get engaged to stop the growth of government. By committing to these simple steps, you will ensure that life of your politician will be filled with contentment and the respect they are desperately seeking, as well as campaign contributions from lobbyists.
This message brought to you by Aristocrats Serving Arkansas.
PHP Parody. The Paul Harrell Program.
And if you're just joining us, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. So the news that I tweeted out earlier today is still, it's just sitting there. I guess giving some Arkansas reporters, I don't know. I'm like the consignment editor. I was like, go and verify this. For those of you that don't know, it's just a public record. There's a website you can go to. It's called Pacer, P-A-C-E-R. You have to get an account, and you have to. I think you gotta pay some money, if it's too many pages and that sort of thing. But these are public records, court documents, and things like that. And sure enough, if you type in a search query, and you go from October, the end of October, like October 30th to today's date, you'll find that there are 18 sealed indictments that have been filed in that time period. The 18, I can tell you, because I was kind of looking at this story, looking at these this data back in last week, because I had noticed that there were 7 sealed indictments in Arkansas that were filed in the Eastern District. But there were no indictments filed in the Western District, sealed indictments, this time last week. So in the last week, from what I can tell, in the last week, we have 18 more. And it was like 17 yesterday when I looked, and 18 today. These are sealed indictments, and they happened in the 18 in the last week. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there'll be some reporters start asking questions and everything else. If anything, look, if you talk to anybody, folks, they will tell you that they're waiting on something to happen. Very few people will talk, though. Hey, back in just a moment.
Stuck in a state of falling.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
When something is scarce, the price typically goes up, and so we're creating a false scarcity in the types of services or service providers that are within a market. And so by creating this false scarcity, it's basically inevitable that prices would go up on those services that are provided. And so we as consumers, we pay higher costs as a result.
So with Arkansas, because I know that's what your study is on, or one of them, can you compare us to other states? Because I'm curious about that. I mean, how do other states, when they go to license this occupation or that occupation, stack up against us?
Yes. So our study, which I'll talk about Thursday afternoon, is called License to Work. This is the second edition. We examined the licensing requirements of 102 low to moderate income occupations across all 50 states in the District of Columbia. And because we gathered all these requirements that did so consistently across all the states, that enabled us to rate and rank all of the states and all of the occupations based on how severe the burdens are to earn these licenses. So with Arkansas, what we found in the second edition was that, and we looked at 3 different things, I should say. One of them is we looked at the number of those 102 occupations that are licensed. So Arkansas actually licenses 72 of those 102. And that puts them pretty close to the top. The states with the most were 77. So Arkansas comes in pretty close to the top at 72.
Gosh.
And then we also measured how burdensome the licenses were. How difficult is it to earn these licenses? And when we compared Arkansas to other states, Arkansas came in 6th place as most burdensome. And then when you combine those 2 things, the number of occupations licensed and the burdensomeness of these licenses, you combine those 2 things into a single score, Arkansas came in 3rd as most widely and onerously licensed. And that's not so good.
No, it is not. No, it is not. I mean, the protectionist crowd here, I mean, they certainly have erected, like you said, the fences around their professions. And it's just obstacles, barriers to success. So that's the way I see it. And that is really, it really just shows you how much work we have to do. And, I would point out in our current political environment, I study it pretty close. We've had a lot of people voting for, different
broadcasting across Arkansas and holding politicians accountable for what they say and do. The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, welcome back. Oh. All right, thanks so much for being with us. The phone number text. No calls today, but call in. Or text in, 870-275-9799. If you're just joining us, I've got a few things to say. Number one, if I seem scatterbrained, it's because I'm running the entire show. I'm running the online stream, running the video, running, Facebook. We've got the actual terrestrial stations that go out to our affiliates, everything else. So there's that, because Joe's on vacation. There's also the fact, in doing all that, I forgot to press play on our podcast audio-only recording. So I'm sorry, guys. You guys that are listening to this, you guys missed the first 30 minutes, and so you missed the the news that we did talk about, the 18 sealed indictments that are filed in Western District of Arkansas, and then you've got 7 that are filed in the 8 in the Eastern District. Sorry. So anyway, we have all this stuff going on, and while all this is going on, I have Danny on Facebook. Hang on a second. I had too many comments, so now the comment is Danny on Facebook asks, when are you going to have the most useless state senator in Little Rock on, John Cooper? Well, here's the thing, Danny. Senator Cooper used to come on this program all the time, especially when he needed to get elected. He came on the program all the time when he needed support from limited government conservatives. And then, of course, he went down to Little Rock and changed his mind on how he campaigned. And ever since then, he doesn't really want to come on the program anymore. So, but he is welcome. I mean, I've given him a nickname, the Benedict Arnold of the Arkansas legislature, because of what he did to the people up here who campaigned for him, who knocked doors for him. It wasn't just people up here, by the way, in my neck of the woods, northeast Arkansas. It was also, people came all across the state. Conservatives came from all across the state to knock doors for him because he wanted to end Obamacare in Arkansas. He wanted to end Medicaid expansion in Arkansas. And so, but Senator Cooper he's in with the establishment. He's in with the people who, I guess the people who've got power. And, that's more attractive to some than doing what you said you would do when you ran for office for the people who, really believed that there was a serious problem with this program and still do, and you agreed with them, and then you said, nah, I don't agree with you anymore. It's actually a tragedy, in my opinion. Like it actually is really just sad. But you know what? There are countless politicians that do that. There are countless governments throughout history that have deceived their population. And so it's going to continue. We just got to keep fighting the fight. All right. I said I was going to do this. Hang on one second. So look at this article. This article right here is something else. Headline is Never Question the Governor. Okay? Never question the governor. It's by Tom Henry, and he's a reporter for Courier News in Mississippi County, Blytheville, Arkansas. And it reads like this. The basic purpose of the Freedom of Information Act is to ensure, let me help you guys out for a second. Okay. Is to ensure an informed citizenry vital to the functioning of a democratic society needed to check against corruption and to hold the governors accountable to the governed. It's a United States Supreme Court in NLRB versus Robbins Tire, 1978. The liberties of a people never were nor ever will be secure when the transactions of their rulers may be concealed from them. Patrick Henry said that. Speaking of like the opposite of Benedict Arnold. While I wholeheartedly approve attempts by the governor to open new markets for Arkansas businesses and to create new trade agreements with China and maybe even Cuba, I don't think that we should be imitating their methods of governing. You know, because they're communist. Yeah. So Tom Henry, I got to meet him when I was at the Mississippi County dinner, and he seemed like a nice guy. And I read his piece the other day, and I thought it was good. I think we might disagree about the governor trying to open new markets for Arkansas businesses to create new trade agreements with China. I don't think that's a good thing, because I don't know where those jobs are going to come from unless they come from existing skilled workforce. Arkansas has a skilled labor shortfall. Now, aside from the picking winners and losers principle that's being violated when you take Arkansas tax dollars and give them to China, some people I've talked to feel sold out by that, by the way. I don't think Ace understands how that might play in a Republican primary. Specifically when we've got such a record unemployment rate, supposedly, right? Supposedly, what a record unemployment. I know it ticked up. That was in the news. It ticked up a point or something. But do you believe that? Let's think about that unemployment number for a second, and I'll get back to Mr. Henry here, because it's a really good piece. We got 1 million people in this state out of 3 million on Medicaid. Think about that. Out of that million who are on Medicaid, 1/3 of us, 320,000, it's been as high as 330,000, are on Medicaid expansion. Of that program, a significant number don't work. How is our unemployment rate that high? Because we're talking about able-to-work adults who are not working. So how is our unemployment rate that low is what I mean. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Because you have people that if they worked 40 hours a week, they wouldn't qualify for that program. And yet the numbers tick up and up and up and up. It just, the perception doesn't really match the reality when you think about it. Okay, back to this. It's downright un-American, Tom Henry writes, to govern in secrecy and to deny citizens the right to know. To take taxpayer money as salaries, to use taxpayer equipment in a taxpayer-bought building, doing the citizens' business and representing the people's needs should not give anyone, including the governor, the right to exempt him, herself, from public accountability. But that is exactly what has happened, and it's been the law for many years now, and it's all legal. See, I love it. I love it when people point out something that's legal, but they still have a problem with it. I love that. I absolutely love it. Reporters should do that more often. And the reason they don't, they'll do some things here or there, but when it comes to when it's something that a personal elected official has done, too often reporters are like, well, it's legal, so there's no reason to write a story about it. What? That's their attitude. Many of it, well, it's legal, so there's, everything's fine, They won't write about how wrong something is. Just like, for example, people should have. Michael Lamoureux was the governor's chief of staff when it was discovered that when he was a senator, he got paid $130,000 from a nonprofit funded mostly by lobbyists. It raised $140,000 that year. They gave $130,000 of it to him as legal expenses or a consulting fee or whatever they want to call it. And people are like, well, he's an attorney, so it's legal. It's fine. No big deal. Tom Henry goes on. Arkansas annotated 25-19-105B7 exempts the unpublished memoranda, working papers, and correspondence of the governor, members of the General Assembly, Supreme Court justices, Court of Appeals judges, and the Attorney General, end quote, from the reach of the public, including the press. So the governor, state legislators, Supreme Court justices, Court of Appeals judge, Attorney General are to be blindly trusted and are above being questioned by voters and the press. He writes. That sounds more like an oppressive regime than a representative democracy where the people rule. See state motto. But it actually gets worse. It actually gets worse. Not only must our God-given freedoms of press and our rights to know take a bow to a disgusting extra wall of privacy for those special office holders, but they must also take a bow to their staff as well. And this is where I really think he's hitting on something. You know, you could claim the governor's working papers all you want, but then his staff is involved as well. The reason I made the request, he goes, I became aware of this when I made an FOIA request of the governor's office this week requesting emails from any and all governor's staff members that may have attempted to limit Jan Morgan's right to speak publicly in Blytheville and was in essence told, heck no, we're special. He goes on, the reason I made the request is because the Arkansas Code makes it illegal for any public servant defined as public officials, public employees, and public appointees to campaign on the clock during usual office hours or to use government resources such as government offices, phones, computers, email system in any way to do the campaigning. The only way to prove if this law has been broken is to see those emails. Were they written on government computers using government email or during usual office hours? We'll never know. Now, think about it. You think that's going on? Back during the primaries of 2016, you think anybody in Ace's office, governor aggressively took sides in the primaries in 3 races, supporting Eddie Joe Williams. By the way, there's a special election for that seat. Come on, R.D. Hopper. Supporting Jane English and supporting, the vacancy, really being against. I can't remember. I can't remember anyway. I'm just having a complete blank. I need backup. Supporting against Sharon Lloyd, completely against Sharon Lloyd, and of course, Sharon Lloyd lost. He aggressively pursued it. I wonder, do you think any of his employees did anything to help Republican incumbents or good old boys? I mean, do you think they did on office hours? You think that's a thing that happened? Tom Henry is essentially saying, if stuff like this does happen, there's no way we could ever find out about it because they don't have to comply with Freedom of Information Act. We're not able to see their phones or their computers or their emails because they say nope. It's an interesting wall of privacy where there doesn't need to be one. I'll tell you that much. So he goes on, to show how ridiculous this law is, when I researched the governor's office on transparency.gov, or transparency.arkansas.gov, I learned that the governor's office, not including himself or the governor's mansion staff, employs 55 people with a total salary budget of $3.1 million, with annual salaries ranging from $117,000 to $36,000 and an average full-time salary of $59,000 per employee. The website lists extremely vague and ambiguous job titles such as management assistant, management specialist, and executive assistant at varying pay grade levels. The job titles give no indications of their functions, therefore one must guess what they do. He goes on, apparently someone has to open the mail, type the letters, answer the phones, schedule the appointments, provide legal advice, advise on trade, advise on politics, liaise with the legislature, liaise with state agencies, advise on budgeting, drive the governor around, take pictures, make coffee, and turn off the lights. That is certainly oversimplifying things, but since the governor's office apparently likes to remain a mystery, I can only guess, Henry writes. He goes on, one must presume that there are sensitive top secret matters of national security when it comes to the ones that answer the mail, type the letters, chauffeurs, the governor, makes the coffee, and etc. These abominable exemptions were put into place during the regimes of Bill Clinton and other Democrats in Arkansas. Wow. This piece is amazing. The abominable exemptions that were put into place, these were put into place during Bill Clinton and other Democrats, and Arkansas Republicans complained for decades about the corruption and unfairness. Wow. But as proof that power corrupts, now that the Republicans have succeeded in their electoral coup, they are now the ones that use those un-American exemptions to further their power. Shame on them. Office holders, it's beyond time to remove those exemptions. He writes, I'll be watching. Again, this is Tom Henry. You can go to tomhenry.org if you want more writing on this. Headline, Never Question the Governor. It's tomhenry.org. It's a fantastic, I mean, absolutely fantastic piece. Really, really, really interesting stuff. Oh, you know what I want to do? I want to do one more thing. The governor is going to be on TV tonight. Did I see that? Hang on a second. Yeah, that's right. The governor's going to be on TV tonight. Look at this right here. All right. So this is the Arkansas Democrat Party. Tonight at 7 p.m., Governor Asa Hutchinson will be asked questions by Arkansans. We encourage you to ask your questions by emailing paffairs@aetn.org. You can tweet to @AETN with the hashtag ARASK. That's ARASK, or calling during the program, 800-662-2386. So the Democrats are encouraging questions. Well, I'm encouraging questions too. You can use this information and you call. This is tonight at 7, okay? So you go ask the governor questions. Go call him. I want you to call the governor tonight. He's on AETN tonight, okay? And he's going to be asked questions by Arkansans. You need to be some of those Arkansans, okay? 800-662-2386. So our online audience, get on that. And hey, you know what? If I could ask the governor anything, hang on a second. If I could ask the governor anything, it would be a question that would expose him as, well, let's just say, it would expose him as having grown government to everybody. And you do it in a very simple way. Okay. Hang on a second. Because I wrote this question down. The good folks at Conduit Media. Okay. So check this out. This would be the best one. All right. Somebody call up and ask Asa this question. If you cut taxes by $150 million and you raise spending by $430 million, did government get bigger or smaller? You should ask Asa that question. Ask somebody, call him. Again, the number, and tell me about it. Tweet the show so we know we can try to pull the audio, okay? 800-662-2386 is the number. Ace is on TV tonight at 7 o'clock on AETN, okay? I think, you can get that right out of the air. 800-662-2386, and ask Asa, seriously, ask him this. If you cut taxes by $150 million, which is what he says, it's like, all right, I've cut people's taxes. You've grown government. You've increased spending, and now you spent all last session trying to raise our taxes because we don't have any money because you're not a fiscal conservative, and you're just not a conservative for the most part in general. So ask Asa, if you cut taxes by $150 million and you raise spending by $430 million, did government get bigger or smaller? Feel free, and it'd be great. If enough of you call, especially if you have that question, you got better chance of him actually getting asked that question. Or if you got a different question, hey, it's a free country. This isn't communist China. We're not communist China. We just give all of our taxpayer money to communist China. We got to take a break. We'll see you on the other side of this one. Don't go anywhere, folks.
The Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group. Good morning. Good morning. Congratulations, you have made it to the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language, where we strive to offer politicians the very best in ambiguously specific language, the purpose of which is to allow our politician bosses to grow government and keep their constituents in the dark. This yields two beneficial outcomes. First, the government-growing politicians stay in office, and second, we at the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language get to remain in the shadows and get to keep our jobs. Now, it's time for technocrat training drills. Johnny?
Yes?
A politician wants to use the healthcare system to punish those who have and redistribute their wealth. What is the appropriate language to use in this situation to make an unpopular idea acceptable to the public?
I would emphasize that these ideas would make their healthcare more affordable and make sure the public understands if they already have adequate healthcare, nothing will change for them.
Very good, Johnny. Much progress since last time. Next up, let's have Susie. Susie, your politician has been caught in, dare I say it, a lie.
What kind of a lie?
It doesn't really matter, but in the spirit of the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language, I will give you a good hypothetical scenario. Dozens of politicians have been thrown out of office for supporting a socialist healthcare program. So the remaining politicians get together and they pass a bill to, quote, end the program, end quote. But they really want to keep it. What should they do, Susie?
May I ask a question for more information?
Certainly.
Has the word lie been used by the political opposition?
Yes.
I know. They should change the name of the program. Maybe use the word works to make the sheeple think it's for working folk. Then they should go on the attack and get the public distracted. I would advise the politician to publicly question why our political dialogue has become so uncivilized and tell them to claim using the word lie, no matter how accurate, is a personal attack on his or her character. And if they admit to any wrongdoing at all, they must replace the word lie with words like misspoke, misstatement, misrepresent, or mislead.
Amazing! Excellent work, Susie. I feel like the student has really become the teacher. You will make a terrific addition to the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language.
All hands on deck. This is a Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language emergency. Several politicians are scrambling after being exposed by some talk radio host. Let's move it, people. They need our help.
The Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language. You vote 'em in, and we keep 'em in. PHP Parody.
All right. Oh, yeah, here we go. We're back. All right. Hey, welcome back, folks. Thanks so much for being with us today. The number, if you want to call us today or text us, scratch the call, just text 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. Yeah, that's right. We've got a special election that is now set. The governor has set elections to fill the state Senate vacancy of Senator Eddie Joe Williams. He did this on Friday. Special primary election of February 13th. And we're going to have the special election of May 22nd, which would be the same day as the regular primary election. Okay? So the regular primary election, May 22nd, that'll be deciding who's going to finish out Eddie Joe Williams' term. So that'll be very interesting to see. And, R.D. Hopper, he was, he's mentioned in this story, Cabinet Republican R.D. Hopper said Thursday that he would wait until Hutchinson set a special election before deciding whether to seek the position. Hopper could not be reached for comment by telephone Friday evening. I will tell you that, this is a guy who got really close, and he's also a conservative. I mean, he is a real conservative. A Cabot Republican, Ricky Hill, expects to make a decision about joining the Senate District 29 race over the Thanksgiving break. Hill spokesman Chase Duggar said Friday Hill works for the Bank of the Ozarks and Cabot in Lone Oak and is a former Cabot school board member, Duggar said. Let me just say, man, I mean, look, Eddie Joe Williams was a yes man, okay? Eddie Joe Williams was a yes man for the governor, and he takes this appointment. Asa wants another yes man. I can promise you that. Asa wants another yes man. And so there's going to be some that, I mean, I don't know who that man is necessarily. We'll wait and see where all the candidates are going to be. But he certainly doesn't want somebody in there that's that's a conservative. That is a principled conservative and doesn't care if you're the governor with an R next to your name, what you say. If we had somebody, if there was a Democrat in the governor's office right now, what would be different? Have you ever thought about asking that question? What would be different? We got one more hour coming your way next, folks. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment.
Rush, Glenn, Sean,
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Parties than we had in the past, Republican instead of Democrat, and yet we don't have the reforms that I think many of us were voting for. We still kind of have the status quo on these things. Tell us, we're talking with Dr. Dick Carpenter, okay? He's from the Institute for Justice, and again, he's going to be at UCA this Thursday. So you certainly want to make plans to be there if you're anywhere in the listening area of Conway or the surrounding cities. I would encourage you to do this because it's a report. It's called License to Work, the first national study to measure how burdensome occupational license laws are. He's going to be talking about Arkansas. That's this Thursday, November 16th, 1:40 at the UCA College of Business Auditorium. So if you can, what is the most burdensome occupational license in your study, and which is the most burdensome in the state of Arkansas?
Sure. So across all of those that we studied, the single most burdensome license was interior designer. In 3 states in the District of Columbia, if you want to work as an interior designer, you have to have 6 years of education experience. You have to pass a national examination, and you have to pay almost $1,500 in fees to the state to work as an interior designer. In Arkansas, the single most burdensome license is for fire alarm installer. If you want to be a fire alarm installer in Arkansas, you have to have 5 years of experience. You have to pay almost $1,500 in fees, and you actually have to pass four examinations to work as a fire alarm installer.
Gosh, unbelievable. That is unbelievable to me. But hang on, at the same time, though, it's like I can see with the way, people use emotional arguments. I mean, because I can just see the arguments against if we were saying we want to, that's the most burdensome according to your study, we want to make that easier. The other side, the emotional argument is, well, we're talking about a fire alarm here, and we're talking about a house fire. We're talking about potential loss of life. I mean, so how do we balance that? Because, I mean, in my opinion, I wouldn't have a problem getting rid of it. Don't misunderstand me. or severely lowering these requirements. 5 years, that sounds ridiculous. But you know what I'm saying? We are in an ideological battle, it seems, and the other side points to these emotional arguments in some cases about potential fires and potential loss of life. So, they're going to say it's about the public safety. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So the word you used is correct, balance. How do we find that balance? So when the industries go and ask for a license, they will, as you said, typically say, we need to protect public health and safety, and therefore we need a license in order to achieve that. We hold open the possibility that there are occupations that would benefit from some form of government regulation, whether that's a license or some other forms of regulation that we can talk about. We hold open the possibility that that could be true. But before we do that, before legislatures create these licenses, there ought to be empirical, demonstrable evidence of a significant threat to public health and safety such that regulation is necessary. And if such evidence is put forward, then the appropriate level of regulation ought to be created. For too long, Paul, we've lived in this binary world where we've thought of occupational regulation as just basically no licensing and full licensing. But in fact, there's a menu of options in between that will include voluntary forms of regulation, like voluntary certification, for instance, or voluntary bonding and insurance. And then there are less onerous forms of government intervention, like registration systems, mandatory bonding and insurance, inspection systems, certification, private cause of action. So there are ways that the government can be part of that process, but not have to impose a full occupational license or to have the severe requirements that, for instance, fire alarm installer has in order to achieve the desirable outcome.
Yeah, and then you get, and I agree with what you said there. What about the licensing rules that can be proved, that are already in existence, that are proven have nothing to do with the public safety, but it's only about the fence, around the industry, paying,
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for being with us. This is hour number 2. You've found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where we are building a liberty machine. You can feel free to text us or sound off on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Paul Talk Show. The number 870-275-9799. Hey, it is Thanksgiving week. I'll tell you this. We got Black Friday coming up, and so I'm going to announce now on the Paul Harrell Program store. You go to paulharrell.com. You'll get 50% off if you shop from Friday through Sunday. Or no, through Monday. Friday through Monday on your Liberty Machine T-shirts, as well as your Impression of the Session montage DVDs, okay? And it's going to start on Black Friday, so it's not there yet, but just keep that in mind. Speaking of conservative ideas, I want to welcome to the program, we have State Representative Andy Davis is on the line with us. Representative Davis, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Paul.
Absolutely. Now, you're State Rep District 31, am I right? And tell us where District 31 is geographically in Arkansas.
That's right. District 31 is basically West Pulaski County. It has the extreme west edge of Little Rock and goes out to Perry County and then as the kind of the northern part of Saline County, so West Pulaski, North Saline.
All right. So tell us a little bit. I covered a little bit of this on Friday. Okay, I have a story here. Finance lessons now a graduation requirement. Okay, it's really good. It talks about the basically by graduation, you're going to have to take personal finance lesson and learn about taxes and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about the motivation behind this.
The motivation is largely personal, Paul. Personal finance is just an issue that's really important to me, and it's something that I think we don't talk enough about. If you look at some of the biggest problems we have at home and in society, oftentimes money is at the root of it. We know that financial issues are one of the biggest causes of divorce in a marriage. Employers tell you that employee finances are oftentimes causes for high turnover rates and a lot of times impediments to hiring and entry-level jobs, just a lack of knowledge of kind of how the basics of things work. And so we also know that finances are one of the biggest reasons that students drop out of college. So it just seemed to me like it was one of those kind of commonsensical things that we really ought to be putting more focus in with our young people right before they leave our high schools and head out to the next phase of life in the real world.
Yeah. I talked a little bit of this on Friday. I think a lot of people used to get this, and, we can talk about, forever, why our education system seems to be different, lack of family values or whatever. But I think, and that's a big deal. I think that's the main reason. But legitimately, you also have, I think the electronic devices, quite honestly, are a big hindrance to that at this point. I mean, it's why, we have instant gratification, so why do I have to worry about planning a monthly budget? I'm happy right now, so I don't care about what happens 30 days from now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a regular guy kind of, drawing conclusions from my own life and just from things I've seen. But you have, there's a great book out, I don't know if you ever read it, called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Just kind of talks about, a lot of differences in people and how they grow up and how they handle money is not always based on, it's not just because their dad had it or not, but it's because their dad taught them how to get it or not. Or when you get it, how do you keep it? How do you manage it? And so that's a societal change I think we've had. A lot of teachers will tell you that they used to teach these things in school, like just in a math class. It's part of math class. You balance the checkbook.
Yeah.
And you calculate an interest on a loan. And I don't know why, but one way or another, we've gotten away from that. So, and that's part of this bill. It doesn't create a new class, and it doesn't tell a teacher where they have to teach it. It just says somewhere in some class before they graduate, they've got to get these concepts.
I think it's a great idea. I really do. And I hope, I like that approach to it. And I actually hope, when I read this the first time, and I think I told you this, where it talked about taxes. Okay. It's the first sentence of this article by Dave Perozik. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But it says, Arkansas students starting with the class of 2021 won't be able to graduate from high school without some understanding of financial planning, taxes, and how to make a household budget. Okay, so the taxes portion is what increased my awareness or my excitement about this, because I'm thinking, if you hear it that people are liberal all the time in college. I was a liberal in college, and then you get out in the real world and you start realizing where your money's going. You start to maybe question the efficiency of government programs and are we really helping people, that sort of thing. It's that line of thought. And that still may be unavoidable, but the idea of taxes are a thing you have to worry about. That may get people kind of thinking whether or not good or big government or small government is a good or bad thing. And I think that'd be a healthy thing for anybody, especially high schoolers, to learn about.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's an interesting point you made when you called me the other day. I'd never really thought about it that way. It wasn't necessarily the intent of the bill, but certainly, a side effect could be that if we start teaching our high schoolers what all those deductions are on their paycheck, then when it comes time to vote at the ballot box, maybe those things will mean a little more to them, and they'll ask a few more questions of, elected people like me about, what are we doing with this, and why do you need it, and, and why did it change, and things like that. So, yeah, maybe a good positive side effect long term.
Well, I certainly appreciate you coming on the program and talking with us about this. It's always good to have you on. Let me ask you this: so we're talking again with State Representative Andy Davis from District 31. Where do you see things, in the future? I mean, I know we've got races coming up next year, but I just feel like. Specifically with this last legislative session, how have your constituents responded to the bills that were passed? Bills like this one, which is a good bill. Maybe you have some tax votes that came up. Your constituents, I mean, how are they feeling about things in Little Rock right now?
Yeah, I would say the mood is that most people feel like we're headed in the right direction, and that's kind of. I would agree with that personally. I think we're headed in the right direction. As far as where we go in the future, I think that we've got to work on our acceleration, so to speak. I think we've got the right vector. We need to put a little acceleration to it now, and that means a little bolder stance on tax reform, a little bolder stance on education reform, and I think we're headed that way, Paul. So that was my third session. If I get reelected next year, I'll get to serve a fourth. And I think we're finally getting to a point where I think we have enough conservative members there that have kind of figured out where we're, what are we doing, how do we do it, and they're kind of ready to
explode.
Kind of ready, explode, or ready to, really make some good progress now. They're kind of like, all right, got it figured out. I know what we need to do. Let's get her done.
Well,
so I think that may be where we're headed.
Yeah, I mean, I always hope. I appreciate an optimistic point of view, and I certainly hope you're right. You did mention education reform. That was a big one. I think that one not getting through, Jim Dotson's push on that, I think that really upset a lot of people that thought, we're just talking about school choice here. This is a very simple concept. Everybody has said they supported it in the past, but then they didn't support it. And, that was frustrating. And, we can point to some tax increases and other things that I disagree with strongly. But I hope you're right. State Representative Andy Davis, I hope that they, come around and some conservative policies, start to get some acceleration.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. State Representative Andy Davis, I appreciate it. Again, that bill, folks, was House Bill 1442. Became known as the Personal Finance and Job Readiness Act, mandating that you're just going to have to know, basic things about finance and be literate in it. Andy Davis, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Paul. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Folks, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we got a lot more news to get to. Did you hear that the United States Chamber of Commerce is now opposing – the U.S. Chamber is opposing Senator Tom Cotton's immigrant bill? I mean, his immigration reform bill? That's really, really good. Wonder why they don't like it. We'll talk about that when we come back. Phone number 870-275-9799. Back in just a moment.
The Paul Harrell Program.
This is State Representative Dan Sullivan with a Liberty Moment. Governments do not make ideals, but ideals make governments. This is both historically and logically true. Of course, the government can help to sustain ideals and create institutions through which they can better be observed, but the source of their very nature is in the people. The people have to bear their own responsibilities. There's no method by which that burden can be shifted to the government. It's not the enactment, but the observance of laws that created the character of a nation. President Calvin Coolidge.
Paid for by Sullivan for Arkansas.
Buy, sell, and trade at Triple R Pawn in Ash Flat. Firearms, computers, sporting goods, musical instruments, tools, jewelry, and everything else you can think of. It's all at Triple R Pawn at the Light in Ash Flat. Gun enthusiasts, log on now to triplrpawn.com and browse their amazing inventory. That's triplrpawn.com. You can also call them at 870-994-PAWN. That's 870-994-7296. Let the great team at Triple R Pawn help you find what you're looking for. That's Triple R Pawn at the Light in Ash Flat, triplrpawn.com, or call 870-994-PAWN.
If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
It's a PHP parody.
Hey, man, you got any of that marble rock?
Yeah, I've got the hookup.
Thanks. I need a fix real bad. I'm itching to grow some government.
How much you need?
I'm gonna need a taxpayer's dime bag.
No problem, sir. 1 taxpayer dime of marble rock. Enjoy.
Thanks, man. They don't call it Little Rock for nothing. Am I right?
Did you know your state representative or state senator may be addicted to growing government? The drug is called marble rock, and too much of it will cause marble fever. Watch for the warning signs. Does your legislator suddenly display a lack of humility when faced with basic questions? Does he or she suddenly develop hubris and pride that was not present during the campaign for office? These are signs they might be smoking the terrible drug, marble rock. The solution? Detox. Vote for detox. Vote to send them home for their own good. Warning! Some politicians once voted out of office will not go home and stay in Little Rock to get their fix by lobbying, also known as the Burris Syndrome.
PHP parody. Want to go back and listen to previous shows? Apple users can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Don't have an Apple device? Head on over to paulharrell.com and click on Podcast. It's free and available 24/7 because the Liberty Machine never sleeps.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with us. Sound off on Facebook or give us a phone call. Oh, what do I have there? Let me get that out of the way. 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. And here we have an interesting story here. Interesting story. Fort Smith bonds proposed for firm. City will now consider $38 million to lure a plant. Now, we've talked about this many times, okay? And what we have talked about is that when you say the word bond, when you say the word government bond, I see that because of my knowledge of government, I see that as a tax increase, okay? Because it is a future tax increase if the government plans don't work out well. I mean, it's a disaster if the plans don't work out well, but I mean, you can rest assured that when they start making, those interest payments and they start paying all that, we're talking about, taxpayer money. It's another obligation. And they're never going to say when they come to ask for your tax money, right? They're never going to say to raise your taxes, well, this is because I supported the bond for this or the bond for that, and they're never going to admit that they're wrong. And you need to understand that. You need to understand that is a big part of the problem here. You give all of these incentives, and they try your best to lure this company or that company. Now, in this story, I don't know if we have any updated information, but in this particular story, we don't even know who the company, the mystery company moving here was supposed to be. City directors are scheduled today to consider a resolution of intent. A resolution of intent to issue $38 million in industrial development revenue bonds and participate in a tax-back program to persuade an unnamed company to locate to Fort Smith. 2 interim resolutions refer to the company as Project Platinum. According to a memo from Deputy City Administrator Jeff Dingman, the company would build a 100,000 square foot manufacturing facility and employ 150 workers. No decision has been made on whether the company is moving to Fort Smith. Fort Smith Regional Chamber of Commerce President and Chief Executive Officer Tim Allen, what a great name, said he expected company officials to make a decision around the end of this year or during the first quarter of next year. And now let's start here. This is what you got to get to here is the Economic Development Commission. Arkansas Economic Development Commission, starting there right here, also is offering an incentive package, but Commission Communications Director Brandy Hinkle said Friday that the commission would not comment on whether it had offered such a package. Allen said a decision by the company to move to Fort Smith would be fantastic, adding that Fort Smith has experienced success in adding businesses and jobs over the past 5 years. Allen, Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, and others attended an announcement by Pradco on Friday, during which it said it was adding 60 jobs to its fishing lure manufacturing operation in Fort Smith. Resolution for the Industrial Development Revenue Bond issue said the company has expressed interest in locating in Fort Smith. Again, according to this story, we still don't know who this company would be. If permanent financing for the project can be provided through the issuance of revenue bonds under the authority of the Municipalities and Counties Industrial Development Revenue Bond Law. Dingman, well, you don't want to be wrong with a name like that. Dingman said in his memo that the company for which the bonds were issued would be responsible for repaying them. The city bears no responsibility to pay them off. Interesting. The resolution said that of the estimated $38 million cost of the project, $9.5 million would be spent for real property. $28 million would be spent on the facilities. Under the resolution, Fort Smith would agree to allow the company for 10 years to make payments in lieu of property taxes in the amount equal to 50% of the property taxes that would otherwise be due. Most of the property taxes collected in Sebastian County go to schools. You know, I don't get this. Liberals are always upset about rich people getting tax breaks. John Brummett, Max Brantley, these guys, they can't stand. They love a progressive tax code, and they can't stand the idea of wealthy people keeping their money. They hate it. But none of them have a problem with the government giving wealthy people more money. And money that's not theirs, that they haven't even earned. They haven't contributed anything to this. It's a gambling problem. We're going to give these people money with hopes that they contribute something positive for us in the future. We're going to not let these people pay taxes. I mean, can you imagine if you're a rich person? Can you imagine if, like, the Koch brothers were just all of a sudden somebody passed a law just for the Koch brothers? And I know the Koch brothers, they have, subsidies and everything, but I'm specifically for them, okay? Oh, the Koch brothers, they don't have to pay taxes for 10 years, personal taxes for 10 years on capital investments, capital gains, or anything for 10 years. People on the left would flip. But they don't care if you give it to Big River Steel or Ryu Paper Company from communist China. No, that's fine. That's no big deal. Ace is creating jobs. Fort Smith is creating jobs. I mean, it's really, I don't understand that. I don't understand why. Now, I mean, you'll have the left like Max Brantley or others or John Brummett that they would agree with their colleagues. They don't really write about this, but they would agree with their leftist colleagues. Yeah, big oil. Oh, big oil. Oh, corporate welfare and big oil. What about the corporate welfare for Ryu or whatever, Ryu Paper Company or the textile, whatever? I've lost track. How many? The communist Chinese companies from the Shandong province. I think we've got, what, 2 now? Are there more? Anyway, it drives me nuts. If there was a little consistency, if there was more consistency from the left on what their principles supposedly are, there would be things that the right and the left could agree on. You know, I don't like corporate welfare. I don't like the government picking winners and losers. We should be able to agree on that. But unfortunately, because the left isn't as principled as they like to think they are are outraged by it with oil companies. They would be outraged by it in the scenario that I just laid out, but they're not outraged by it. They're simply not outraged by it when it comes to Asa Hutchinson, a Republican, by the way, giving all of our, because Mike Beebe used to do it, but giving all of our money away, trying to lure companies here. And again, where are all these jobs going to come from? Where are the people? Where are the people going to come from when we put a cotton plant or a clothing plant in St. Francis County? Where are they going to come from? Are the people going to work? Are the people working at that plant or going to work there supposedly? Are they on the couch today and they'll be working tomorrow? That would actually be a job created, I guess. You could make the argument, but they want you to think that they create a job when an existing skilled worker leaves one Arkansas factory and goes to the subsidized one. They say that that's a job created, and folks, it simply is not.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Greasing somebody's palms, paying homage, paying tribute, you know. I mean, here in Arkansas a couple of years ago, we did get one regulation. I wish we'd put all of the burdensome regulations that are not about the public safety into one bill, but it was like pulling teeth to get just one out of the cosmetology board allowing somebody to braid hair. That's all they did. They braided hair. Cosmetology was saying you need 1,500 hours, and the schools in her area didn't even offer hair braiding as training. She's been braiding hair for, you know, her whole life. I mean, I've got the testimony, and it was like pulling teeth. It barely passed, but thank goodness, if you want to braid hair, that's all you want to do. You don't have to have a license to do that. Some of these are clear cut, have nothing to do with the public safety. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, that's one of the reforms that we talk about in our report. We have a whole section on the different types of reform that could be instituted in the states, and this is one of them, where there is just simply no clear relationship between the licensing requirements and protection of public health and safety. In such cases, our recommendation is those licenses can be eliminated entirely. There may be other licenses where some demonstrable evidence exists that there is some threat to public health and safety. There is some sort of need for intervention. If so, then match up the appropriate type of regulation, like I was talking about before, to address that certain type of need.
Yeah.
So the reforms that we recommend will range anywhere from reducing the burdens of certain licenses to eliminating licenses altogether.
Yeah. I kind of feel like, and this just, dawned on me. I mean, I've thought about this before, but this really is all about risk. And I think there's some people that want to, lessen the potential risk to consumers. But I feel like there's some that want to try to eliminate it. And I don't think that's possible. And I think if you approach it from a concept of government saying we're trying to make sure, when people are out there, voluntary cooperations in an economy, in service, that nothing bad ever happens to them. If you approach it from that mentality, you're not going to have very much freedom to work.
Oh, but Paul, keep in mind that a license doesn't eliminate that. Bernie Madoff was licensed.
Oh, God.
There was a funeral director in Georgia that was pitching dead bodies behind his establishment out in the woods. I don't know if you remember that story several years ago.
Paul Harrell, your voice for limited government and small business in Arkansas.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for being with us today. And happy Monday to everybody out there. And, it is a short week because we have Thanksgiving coming up, but I wish you and your family very happy Thanksgiving. And I will be here through Wednesday, so feel free. Look, I know in this industry specifically, this is a week of guest hosts. And I know a lot of you guys out there are talk radio junkies, just like myself. And so when your particular host on your particular station that's got a particular lineup is not there, you certainly notice it. But hey, talk radio hosts got to take vacation too, I guess. But I will be here through Wednesday. And I'm excited about it because on Wednesday we will be reading George Washington's Thanksgiving Proclamation. And we'll also be reading Abraham Lincoln's Thanksgiving Day Proclamation. It's very fascinating stuff when you realize how much they relied on and gave credit to divine providence. It's very, very refreshing to see this. I don't know what's going to happen between now and the end of the week or Wednesday or Friday. I won't be here Thursday or Friday. But I do know that this is interesting, and this is what we kind of have here, and we showed this to you last hour. This was the news of last hour. It is 18 sealed indictments have been filed in the Western District of Arkansas, the Federal Western District of Arkansas. And we still don't know what this means specifically. It's not just the 18 in the West. You also have 7 sealed indictments in the East. Now, indictments are filed all the time. Sealed indictments, from what I can tell on the internet, not as much. But that's not really the issue here. Sealed indictments isn't really the issue. The issue more so would be the fact that it's happened in the last couple of days. Going back to the 18 sealed indictments filed in the Western Federal District of Arkansas. This is public information. You go to PACER, PACER is the service where you are able to look up documents and stuff like that. You have to have an account, but it's not hard to get one. You see here, the search query is from November 20th, or the search query was on November 20th, but you see the filing date, their search query is from October 30th to today. Okay, so from the 30th of October to November the 20th. And so these 18 sealed indictments, one right after the other, appear to have been filed, in my opinion, at the same time. I think they've been filed at the same time. Notice there's no date. Do you see that? Each individual case doesn't have a date next to it, but it does come up when you search the file date. If you go look at the 7 sealed indictments that have been filed in the Eastern District, which are going to be here, you'll notice that there is a date when it was added. Case filed on November the 7th, okay, and it's sealed. Another one on November the 16th, 2 on the 3, 4, 5 on the 16th. My point is, I guess that's 6 on the 16th. You look at this and you start to think, I can tell you that I was aware of the 7 indictments last week. There were 7 sealed indictments that were filed, and this could mean absolutely nothing. Let me say it again. This could mean absolutely nothing. But last week, there were 7 sealed indictments filed in the Federal Eastern District of Arkansas that were filed on those dates. There was no results coming up in the Western District. There was nothing new that had been filed, well, nothing sealed that had been filed. Till last night, it started showing up. And it probably happened on Friday or something. I don't know. There's not an actual date next to it. Again, check it out for yourself. Right? Look at it. There it is. It's in the search parameter dates, and they come up and they're sealed. You don't know what they're about. It could be nothing. It could be drug related. It could be. But does it have to do with general improvement money? I don't know. Does it have to do with Medicaid entities? I don't know. I just think everybody is waiting for the corruption trial of John Woods to begin, and I found this. Everybody is waiting for the corruption trial to begin. And look, I've said here openly on the program, I Google frequently, almost once a day when I wake up in the morning. Just in case, I Google Arkansas indictments. And I get the same hits that I've gotten for a long time. Nobody's writing about it. I'm just Googling it because I know what everybody will tell me anonymously about what they've heard. So when you get to 18 sealed indictments filed in Federal Western District of Arkansas, you take notice. And by the way, yesterday it was 17, and now it's 18. At least that's what popped up in the search. I'm just telling you what I can see. And I think that there are probably, if I had to guess, there are reporters who are going, and they're going on Pacer, and they're seeing if they can't come up with a similar result. It's pretty basic, pretty straightforward. Okay? Also, tonight at 7 o'clock, Governor Asa Hutchinson will be on AETN. And they're taking questions if you want. Did you know that? They're taking questions. You guys should call. You guys should call out there. Call Governor Asa Hutchinson and try to ask him a question on AETN tonight. Ask him how... ask him if, again, from last hour, ask him if cutting taxes by $150 million and spending $480 million is growing or shrinking government. Does that make government smaller or larger? It's pretty much as simple as a math problem. Very, very simple. Oh, man. It's a lot of fun. Let's see here. I got a question on Facebook. Let's see. Wayne on Facebook. What are the times and stations for your program in the northwestern part of the state? Well, the most northwestern part of the state, that's going to be on Kerm. Okay, that's 100.3 FM and 790 AM, Wayne, if you're still listening. And that's only on Mondays and Fridays from 4 to 5. So Mondays from 4 to 5 and Friday from 4 to 5, okay? It's a 2-hour program, right? Now, we are on the Marshall out of Fort Smith, which is from over here in East Arkansas. I still consider that to be Northwest Arkansas, but I know, people would say maybe it's just more Western Arkansas, but I get it. I have been accused before of being directionally challenged. And so we're on the Marshall there, 1230 AM over there. So I hope that helps. And we're on 5 days a week there from 4 to 6. So, anyway, I aim to please. I want to help out as much as I can. All right, hang on 1 second, and I'm going to pull something up here. So, Arkansas's jobless rate, 3.6%. Did you know this? Arkansas's jobless rate has risen to 3.6%. And analysts notes that there's a lag in work seekers. Now, folks, I don't know about you, but I don't believe it's 3.6%. I didn't believe it was 3.5%. I don't really trust the government much. I don't trust their estimates. Why is it that they always expect us to? Why is it that they never trust your common sense? Oh, the government's lying to me, or because they always lie. They never trust that, but they always will trust a government estimate. How does it feel like the unemployment rate in Arkansas is 3.6%? Does that feel accurate to you? Do you feel like that's the truth? To me, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see here. Oh, this is a good. What is socialism? I saw that earlier. I also saw one about the free market. Do you remember? I mentioned this briefly on Friday, and I want to circle back to it because I didn't get to it. And that reminds me, I gotta circle back to something else too. This was an interesting article about taxi cabs and Uber. So taxi companies across the United States waged a bitter, high-profile battle to keep Uber Technologies and Lyft from bringing the sharing economy to cabs. And they lost, right? Because now cabbies, according to Daniel Flatley, Bloomberg News, are adopting an if-you-can't-beat-them-join-them strategy. Pittsburgh Yellow Cab, for example, rebranded itself last year as Z-Trip, a century-old fixture in Steel City. It launched an app and offered a hybrid service, accepting cash along with credit cards, letting rides be hailed from a corner or scheduled online, and foregoing Uber's controversial surge pricing during peak periods. Which, that, by the way, is a genius part of Uber, in my opinion. That the price goes up, as more people, as demand rises, the price goes up. I think that's really, really good. So I got to reference a story. The Northwest Arkansas Regional Airport, they're still trying to fight this battle. They don't want Lyft drivers or Uber drivers coming to pick people up at the airport unless they get pre-approval, just so it's not any old Joe being an entrepreneur trying to make some extra cash. They're trying to put up a geo-fence. You can look that story up. I'm just saying that, while taxi cab companies are surrendering in big cities, for some reason, Arkansas is still trying to fight what is an incredible, convenient market, And this is an example of, by the way, of how private citizens left to the what freedom we have left in America, and specifically the internet, which is not regulated the way they want to regulate it. We still have enough freedom to innovate, and I want the internet of tomorrow. These people want to tax it. These people want to regulate it, and they're going to kill the internet. I promise you they will kill the internet if they get what they want. We don't talk about that enough. But if Dan Douglas and Asa Hutchinson and others who want the authority to tax an Indiana business for, tax them for services that they will never provide to that business, folks, I'm telling you, it's the beginning of the end of the creativity and the technological advancements that we've seen in such a brief period of time with the internet. Do not let them get their hands on it for that reason alone. The other reason, if you are for limited government or you're for small government or you're for government shrinking, the other reason to not tax it is because you're going to limit the amount of money to the government. The internet's existence and the sales tax and stuff that's not being collected that they want to collect is a good thing because the government wants it, number one. And number two, the government's arguments are flawed because we don't have the right to tax somebody in California, just like California doesn't have the right to tax somebody in Arkansas that doesn't have a physical presence there. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it should be, because the states are sovereign, okay? But if I want limited government, then I need to acknowledge that if the government can't spend money it doesn't have, unless you're the Federal Reserve in the United States government. But Arkansas can't spend what it doesn't have. And other states are like that, too, for the most part. I mean, they can run deficits and over-leverage and, mortgage themselves with bonds and things like that. But you get the point. I mean, Washington and Little Rockers have a lot in common. Government itself has a lot. I mean, you can just apply these principles out. And if you cut off the tributaries, if you cut off the cash flow, then it will have to shrink. At the very least, it can't grow. Or it'll have a really hard time. It'll really have a really hard time growing. All right. Let me set the record straight here. Well, hang on. Let me take a break. Let me reset. I got to set the record straight. We had a Conduit for Action article that I covered. And I don't know. I need to it was about the platform shift. So let me do that when I come back. And happy Monday. Everybody out there listening, back in just a moment.
Order. In the name of public safety, order. This meeting of the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards is called to order in the name of public safety. What's on the agenda for the day?
We have before us today, per our summons, a representative from the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing cosmetology, cosmetologist, and all things hair care and beauty.
Right. Of course, I remember this. In the name of public safety, ma'am, please state your name for the record, and thank you for appearing before us today.
Yes, my name is Cosmo Glamour Gazette, and I'm here in response to a letter our state board received claiming we're in violation of the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards. In the letter, you claim that our licensing board is in violation of your rules and regulations because we have failed to, quote, pay tribute, end quote, and therefore have not been granted a license by the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing licensing boards to, quote, shake down the Arkansans who have an interest in cosmetology, end quote.
In the name of public safety, order. Yes, Miss Gazette, we sent you that letter because you have not obtained our approval in the form of a license from our board to distribute licenses to the professional class your board strives to protect. In the name of public safety, of course.
Of course.
So, in the name of public safety, and just so we can get this for the record, you do admit and agree with our board, the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards, that you have not obtained a license, thereby revealing your board of cosmetology to be operating outside our rules, regulations, and authority?
Well, sir, I'm not sure our board agrees that we need a license from your board to continue to shake down, to look out for the public safety of Arkansans.
In the name of public safety.
In the name of public safety.
Well, it seems we are at a bit of an impasse if we are not in agreement that your board owes us tribute.
Sir, maybe we could ask and see if there's a bureaucrat in the house.
Oh, yes. Yes, that would shed some light on things. A bureaucrat. Yeah, in the name of public safety, is there a bureaucrat in the house? We need someone to resuscitate and confirm our authority as the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards.
Here.
Ah, yes. Oh, good. Come to the end of the table in the name of public safety and state your name for the record, please.
Yes, I am Despot Ringleader, the head of the bureau governing all state bureaus, and it is my testimony the Arkansas State Licensing Board governing state licensing boards does have the authority to demand tribute in this situation and will provide in exchange a license to say they can continue to operate in the name of public safety.
It's hard to argue when the public safety is put at risk. Very well. We will consider Mrs. Ringleader's testimony as truth, and we will pay tribute. In the name of public safety, of course.
In the name of public safety.
In the name of public safety.
He puts the Paul in politics. The Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group. The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Check it out. Let's see here, right here. This story, it was very popular last week over at Conduit for Action, and it just highlights a pretty basic, I don't know, it kind of slipped under the radar. You had to be looking for it. Limited government and other principles removed from the Arkansas Republican platform. I mean, I can't believe we didn't think of this. Of course, that's what they're going to try to do, is change the platform so they look like that they're still, I don't know, so they don't look like liars. Change the rules so you don't look like a cheater. Change the rules so, you know, what you did is technically legal. It's really sad. It really is. I can't, I mean, it's, anyway. It really has to do with two things. Okay, it changed from 2014 to 2016. Okay, the change in principles from the 2014 to the 2016 Arkansas Republican platform is much broader than omitting the mention of limited government, which they did. The 10 principles of the Arkansas Republican Party are gone. Limited government, the power of faith in God have now been omitted. The other 8 principles are gone as well, but their words are used in sentences in the preamble. In some instances, the words have little or no meaning and provide no guidance. The 10 principles were replaced in the 2016 platform with 5 principles that have little in common with the previous list. Okay? Let's go check those out. Let's go look at those 5 principles that were replaced, okay, in the 2016. See, they're the 2014 principles. Okay? There's the 2016 preamble. But then you get to the 2016 principles. Okay, let's read what it says now. That individual citizens are willing and capable of managing their own affairs without government intervention. That the local, state, and national governments must pursue policies designed to encourage individual initiative and induce people to be responsible for their own economic, political, and social well-being. Okay. 3 would be the primary function of government is to protect the life, common liberty, and property of the governed, to prevent fraud and misinterpretation, and to invoke a common justice. Number 4, that when a function is undertaken by government, it should be performed by that government closest to the people, which will provide as much direct control by those affected as reason and wisdom require to assure freedom and liberty to all citizens with justice under the law. And number 5, that our national stability and expansion of the free enterprise system can be best assured by application of the constitutional principles that unite the American people. That last one is very ambiguous and vague. What constitutional principles that unite the American people? Anybody? Now, that's what it is now. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? 2016 principles. 5 asterisks. You see that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you come up here, and let's look at the 2014 principles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got 10 principles here, okay? All right, principle number 1. This is what it used to say. Pretty straightforward. The power of faith in God. Wonder why that's not on there anymore. Number 2, the sanctity of life. See, these are this takes less explanation, because these 10 principles are based on a platform where the people know, they already have an opinion on these things. Okay? They already have an opinion on them. Already know them. You're educated. You know what the other side would say, and you know why you would say you're right. Right? So the power of faith in God, okay? You don't have to explain that. You know, to have a long, drawn-out sentence. The sanctity of life, got that. We know what that is. That's a pro-life or a pro-abortion argument. Very easy. Individual responsibility and initiative. Okay, we know what that means. That's just an anti-welfare statement. You know, see, now they want to parse it. Individual responsibility and initiative. You're responsible for your own circumstances, right? If you're truly needy, we'll help you out. But, I mean, everybody, if you're able to work, you're not going to get something for free. Individual freedom and liberty secured by limited government. Do you see how specific these things are and how issue-focused they are, and they assume a base of knowledge that the people already get? No. Let's see, that's 4.5, private property. That's all it says. The fifth principle back in 2014 was just private property. It's great. Number 6, lower taxes to produce economic growth. Number 7, strong national defense. 8, the personal right to own and bear arms. 9, the equal and just enforcement of the law. And 10, separate and equal branches of government. I mean, everybody, it's just like it used to rely on a base of knowledge, an educated voter. That's the principles they agree to. And then what do they go to? They go to these 5 asterisks, okay, that really aren't principles. You know, in a way, they're just like paragraphs. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. Hey, we're going to be back here on Tuesday. Everybody get excited. Get ready for Turkey Day. I know I am. Arkansas, be safe.